session.
Sure.
Our heritage. Josh was kind of. Presentation about leadership and stuff. I mean, he's a. Three initiatives. Sales tax and distributed.
Yeah. Didn't say anything?
You got,
Good, how are you?
He wants to keep it all for himself?
well, that was a lot different, but I was kind of broke back and forth, but I had to go outside and it's all like me. But then he said, and
Gosh, how are you? How are you? I'm doing well. It's nice to see you. What have you been up to?
Staying out of trouble.
Oh, that's easier said than done. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, how about you?
I am also staying out of.
Oh, yeah.
so.
Support the fire department.
Uh, good idea. It's really good.
He's pretty nimble on his feet.
Yeah.
That's one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was so unexpected. So out of left field.
These are this way.
That was,
No.
that was. That's it. That was, you gotta have a little humor, right? If you want to run for governor, you gotta be ready for the hard questions, right? I thought it was expensive.
It's probably still.
I think she got it. So then. It's fine.
Well, I can find it, I got it around it, but.
I just guessed. Yes.
She was adjusting stuff. I said by my name.
There is a way.
But it's like a wall. Yeah. Just got Sure, I said. That's part of where that's.
Oh, you got it. That's next to the Miller. That's see. Long life. Johnny.
Yeah, no, we did.
That's big. Yeah.
Wait for anything.
I came in, I got here early, I went to. I started. And, so. Here's my big decision. Like, it's very good. That's a cyber. Really.
Okay. Over.
Mr. President. This is when it's.
Enter your password or meeting followed by pound.
Wait, particles. And mine was the next.
All right, let's go. I'd like to call this meeting to order, a regular meeting of the Village Board on Monday, January 16th at 7 p.m. in the Germantown Village Hall Boardroom. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with sections 19.83 and 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows all village board members present except for trustee Nyrider, who is joining us via WebEx tonight, and trustee Pieper, who is, I don't know, probably in transit possibly, but we'll see what the outcome of that is at this time. So with that, then, I would ask us all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, to justice.
Thank you. Next item is President's Report. Just a couple things to report tonight. First thing is Happy New Year to all of those either in our audience or watching. This is our first meeting back since the holiday, so hopefully everybody had a joyous and safe holiday, and we're very relaxing and looking forward to the new year in 2023, which the first month is half over already, so it's already blazing through, just like it was the previous year. So with that, then, that also means changes. New year is new changes. And with that, we have an election coming up in April. So half of this board will be up for election. I believe out of the 4 seats available, 3 are running uncontested and 1 will be contested. But there will be other important matters on that April election. So please watch for your ballots being published either in your local newspaper, in the free newspaper, or any information that you can gather in regards to who is on that ballot. So thank you all for coming here tonight, and Happy New Year to you. Next item is appointments. We have 1 appointment on tonight's agenda. Board?
Motion to approve, Dennis.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve to the Utility Commission, Stephen Wesolowski. Any
Oh, man.
Any discussion on that motion to approve?
First time I've heard applause.
That's great. That's great. I love that. No discussion?
Whatever that means.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for your commitment and for your time. Next item is announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee and department reports. We'll start with committee reports and committee chairs with trustee Kaminsky.
Public Works will meet in this room on Tuesday, February 7th at 5:30 PM.
Thank you. Trustee Rick Miller.
General Government and Finance was postponed tonight and will be rescheduled for Monday, January 23rd at 5:30 PM.
Thank you. Trustee Myers.
Mr. President, Public Safety will meet February 6th in this room at 6 p.m.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to bring forward for announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee or department reports? All right, then we can go on to the next item on the agenda, which is citizen input and public appearance on items not subject to a public hearing. There are no public hearings on tonight's agenda, so if there's anyone within our audience or joining us via WebEx that would like to participate in citizen input and public appearance, you're welcome to do so. All I would ask is that you state your name and your address for the record if you're coming up to the podium, or make your wishes known to the moderator of WebEx so they know how, so they can recognize you and you can have your opportunity. We do have a 3-minute clock up for tonight for citizen input and public appearance. Is there anyone wishing to come forward at this time?
Stephen Wozolowski, and it's WESOLOWSKI at W169 N10427 Pheasant Run in Germantown. I just wanted to thank the village board for the vote of confidence tonight. I appreciate that. And I'm kind of actually really excited about having an opportunity to provide and help out other members here with issues. People that do know me that, I'm research driven. I make most of my decisions on a lot of data that I research coming from an engineering field. So I know I can provide valuable information and input to our Public Works Department and to other board members on different issues that may or may not come up here. I know that the Utility Advisory Board, my understanding, has only met a couple times in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping we can change that. I think we can get more activity, more things maybe come down the line to us to research, look at, because I want to help and make things better in our community. So I look forward to working directly with Rick and the other citizens that are on that board. And I just want to thank you guys again for giving me the chance.
Thank you for coming forward, and thank you for your volunteerism.
President Walter?
Yes, Trustee Miller.
Yeah, I just want to mention one thing is that we are trying to meet a little bit more. There are some things that we need to discuss as far as the Utility Advisory Committee, and we're trying to get a meeting next week scheduled. So look for that, and we should be able to meet next week on our next agenda.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance?
Yes, Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. And I'm glad to see that we have another commission, committee, board filled. It's great. There are quite a few that have not been. And I was looking on the calendar because I understand that I think it's the 3rd Tuesday of April. There's supposed to be an organizing meeting day where anyone who's interested in participating on any kind of commission or board gets the opportunity to be at that meeting. Mm-hmm. It's somewhere in the Muni Code. I don't remember which part of it I was reading it, but I didn't see it on the calendar. So what day is it really supposed to be, and shouldn't it be on the calendar since we have so many openings on the various boards?
We can schedule that meeting. We've had them in previous years where people that have opportunities or are looking for opportunities to be on different type of residents commissions or opportunities that allow them to participate in different boards. And we've had members of those boards here to explain kind of what they do and what their responsibilities are and how often they meet and kind of what their direction has been on previous meetings. So we can definitely set that up again in April.
Yeah.
And have it right here. And it's kind of an open format, just a discussion.
Okay, I think that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. That's fun. I like to do that.
Also, I'm a little confused on this one, but I think Martin Luther King is considered a legal holiday. And if that's the case, then this meeting should have occurred tomorrow, according to the Muni Code, but I don't know if that's correct. If Germantown doesn't recognize MLK Day because the village was open and so is the library,
For some,
I don't know how that works.
some businesses, it is a federal holiday, so most federal employees do have off, and some government officials do choose to be closed, or offices do choose to be closed on that day as well in recognition. But for a lot of other businesses and banks and financial institutions, I think it's considered a floating holiday. And any of the benefits that I've seen in the companies that I've worked for in the last 5 to 10 years, or since it's been recognized as a holiday, it's always been provided as the floating holiday, the one that you choose for your additional vacation day.
Fair enough. And then just looking at a 4-page agenda, that's kind of crazy. Once again, we've got trustee abuse happening here, I think. So 28 items is quite a lot. I know some of them are consent agenda, but some of them in the consent agenda may not need to be or should be pulled out and maybe discussed separately. So just a comment.
One of the things to remember is as they come forward through the village board, they have been flushed out in committees or in different committee meetings. So, you know, many trustees are either on those committees or come to those meetings themselves, as you've seen. And so they're familiar with the information as it's being presented the first time. So like myself, I'll follow each agenda on the committees and read that baseline information there, and then go into the notes and see what's changed or what was the outcome of that meeting based on the background that it was presented for that meeting. And then you don't have to read the 50, 100, 200 pages that come before the village board, because you're already in tune up to the matter of what happened at that meeting, and also were read the background that was presented at that meeting. So, you know, when it comes up to the village board, a lot of that stuff's been pre-flushed out and predetermined in regards to being brought forward either on a consent agenda or as a matter of the village board. And we've had opportunities maybe once or twice previously to read into it. So for myself and for the, you know, and maybe this is just me because I've been on the board for a while, you learn how to pay attention to those things and read them at the time that they're presented at committee, read the notes, and then you can look for any additional changes by quickly reading over the background presented at the village board meeting. And that way you're not reading 500 pages. You're only reading things that maybe you haven't paid attention to that came through committee or were put on the board meeting without being on committee. So it's not quite as obtrusive as it seems because it is a whole month's worth of meetings coming to this one meeting here.
Yeah, well, it just seems like a lot. And I mean, some of these meetings go on for a long, long, long time. And
Some of it's a lot of discussion that occurs per each topic. So any topic can go anywhere from 10 to 40 minutes, depending on its importance.
Yeah.
And the input from the residents, which, you know, we want to make sure, and I've often allowed that discussion to happen in my tenure as village president. Previous presidents have had their own sets of rules following more closely to Robert's rules, where you only get 2 comments. And I feel that that helps to stifle discussion, and perhaps while you're having an open debate, a different village board member may bring something up that you never even thought of. So that also brings up some additional discussion in regards to that idea or that topic. So I hate to close that down to 2, but there are some items that are I would say, for the best term, thoroughly discussed before they're put to vote. And in some cases, trustees have called point of order just to get it to go to vote because they feel the discussion has hit a flat point or has plateaued, or everything that should be discussed about that has pretty much happened. But my take has always been, if there's something to say or some idea that you're willing to bring forward, I'm willing to listen. But if we followed Robert's rules to the letter, everybody would only have 2 opportunities. And I just look at that as kind of more closing down that discussion that not only the residents get to see, but giving the topic itself a fair advantage.
yeah, I mean, I thought that you as chair have the opportunity to dispense with Robert's rules when you think that the.
Well, I hate to say that I choose when to and when not to. I mean, we do have a set guideline that we follow, but I happen to open up the discussion, and I've never said, okay, this meeting we're only going to have, you only get 2 comments.
Yeah.
I've never said that. And in some cases, I've been a little bit more liberal in regards to public comment. where it was wide open, and lately adding to the length of those meetings have been the opportunity of people coming forward and telling us what they'd like to hear as well. Well, when we have, 5 or 6 people coming at 10 minutes apiece, there's already an hour we're pushing out. And not that there's anything wrong with that, and we appreciate everybody coming forward, but we're trying to limit it so that we can get out before 11 o'clock as well.
Right, I understand. And I'm over time, so yes, I do agree.
Some of that's my fault.
Yes, you took my time. So, but I do agree that you have been pretty liberal with giving people time, so I do appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance?
Good evening, Scott Heffley, W159N10514 Old Farm Road, Germantown.
You head off today. You're usually in a suit coat.
But I still was working. It was an
Oh,
office.
okay.
Anyways, the market's closed, but I'm not. Just a couple things. I see the library condenser, near and dear to my heart, is back on the agenda. I was one of the people that was outspoken about borrowing 20-year bonds to pay for what I consider to be maintenance that you should keep on top of, because the library, in my opinion, is a village building and also an asset to the village. So I didn't think borrowing for 20 years for things like roofs and condensers was in the best interest. Maybe I'm the only one that feels that way. You have other places to go for that. You have ARPA funds, which communities have been using to update or upgrade their facilities. You have an unaudited surplus of 1.1 million, hopefully audited in the next 2 weeks when Baker Tilly's done. Your reserves in the general fund are the highest they've been in several years. You have places to take money from that don't involve taking money out of the library's capital fund, which they're using to try to build up and build onto what's a program and a facility and an institution that we all love in Germantown. It's one of those things where if you ask people of Germantown, how much do you like the library? I think you would know that the answer would be overwhelmingly, it's great, we love it, we like the program. So I'm hoping you use levity and fiscal responsibility in what your decision is tonight. The other two things, under new business F, the resolution for an advisory referendum regarding an agreement with Washington County to share sales tax revenue. Honestly, I didn't know this was out there. Maybe I heard about it, didn't know about it, but actually was at a event last week up at the Tower Heritage Center with Leadership Germantown, and Josh Showman, our county executive, spoke at length to our group, and he did a great job. He always does. And he let us see the vision of what's going on up there. This question was brought up. He opened it for questions, and he got this question from somebody about, my understanding is that we're looking to take 20%, or the other cities in Washington County are looking to take 20% of that revenue and reallocate it to the individual communities. Germantown would get $860,000 or somewhere around there that we could use to fund the things that we need funding for, whether it's police or fire, whatever we do. So I think I know it's an advisory referendum, but I'm in favor of it if we do that. I think that anything we can do to take control of funds that we pay in to put back in for our residents is a good thing. And then, of course, everybody in this room has to know that I'm excited about H extension of sewer service area to the northeast corridor of Richfield. Hopefully that's an update. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance? Is there anyone online?
Mr. President,
Trustee Myers?
I have a letter that I'd like to have you read into it.
Okay. Okay. This is, before we get to comments or communications, is there anyone else that wishes to come forward? Was there anybody on WebEx?
Their hand up.
Okay, then we can start with communications that we've received. This was received today. And it says, "Hi, Dennis. On December 19th, I watched the village board meeting on cable. I was surprised by what I heard that night on several matters. I am not able to make the meeting tonight, and I would like you to read this and during the public comment period if possible. And that's from Tom Steinbach of West 204, North 10609, Hilltop Drive in Germantown. I am expressing my concerns tonight based on the December Village Board meeting proceedings. Number one, the village lost 20 employees in 2022. This is quite alarming. I understand that 9 of these employees were from the police department. Why are we seeing this type of turnover? Are they resignations or retirements? When were they replaced? Our police department is in need of additional officers, as documented by many discussions occurring over the last few years. Are we at full staff again now, or are we running short? Retaining employees is important for the proper operation of our village. Every time we lose an employee, a certain amount of institutional knowledge is lost. The history is not good for the village on employee retainage. Why is this, and what is being done to address it? Number two, the village had a computer failure in September, which resulted in the partial or complete loss of 60 days of data. This frankly is unacceptable and speaks to the very concerning lack of proper computer system maintenance. Why did this happen, and what steps are being taken to ensure this doesn't happen again? Number three, poor audio quality of the meeting on cable. As I listened to the meeting on the 19th, the audio was very difficult at times to understand. Please remind trustees to speak into the microphone consistently so that all the proceedings can be heard. I understand that you do not address questions during the public comment period. Therefore, I would like written response to my questions sent to my address on Hilltop Drive. Thank you, Mr. Steinbach. We also received another communication on Friday, January 13th, and it says, hello. Recently, we told by a trustee that the village has 3 sources of communications to people in the village: internet, cable, and newspapers. First, the internet. We were explained 80% of the people use the internet to get the information, 20% just don't care. They never stated where these numbers came from. It's been stated the board is all about data. Website is not user-friendly. Maybe people don't have the time to go the internet all the time for everything. Second, the cable channel. We all know about the issues we have the cable channel. We were told that is fading out of use. Don't know where they got the information on that. By the way, still not fixed. Part to be installed on 1/30/23, then testing needs to be done when Spectrum has techs available to do the testing. The information was provided to us from Mr. Krecklow. Third, the Germantown newspapers, not a whole lot of information. The paper, the point outed by people to us, most other surrounding areas in the paper, or a month or so later, it's in print after it's decided like a month or so before. The point is, if you don't have a computer or cell phone nor want one, what good is that? If you have a computer but the website is not user-friendly, what good is that? If cable channel is not working properly, when working, it does have the village information listed on it, what good is that? You have a paper box attached to your mailbox to receive the paper, you will get the paper, that is good. Or you have to stop at Pick and Save on Mequon Road or gas stations to pick it up. How about making 2023 a goal? Better year of communications to the people in the village. Thank you for your time, the Schneiders. That's all I have for communications received, and that's all we have for citizen input and public appearance. So that would then take us to the consent agenda. Board?
Motion to approve agenda A through P.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded to approve consent agenda items A through P. Is there any discussion on that motion to approve? Trustee Baum.
I'd like to pull items C and J. Discussion.
Okay. Any other discussion? Trustee Jan Miller. There you go.
It's working. I would like to pull item I.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, P is in Paul, for discussion.
Okay. Further discussion? No further discussion? Then we'll do a roll call vote for consent agenda, items A through P minus C, I, J, and P. We didn't call your name yet.
Trustee Myers,
Aye.
Trustee Hudson,
Aye.
Trustee Baum, Trustee Kaminsky, Trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Nightrider, Trustee Nightrider?
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Peeper? Aye. President Walter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. And we'll start with consent agenda item C, which is purchase of 3,000-gallon water tender truck from Midwest Fire in amount not to exceed $396,662. Midwest Fire. Trustee Baum.
My issue is paired up with item J, which is they're both water tankers. Is there a way that the Public Safety Committee and the Public Works Committee, the Fire Department and Public Works, is there a way we can combine and buy one water tanker that's dual use instead of spending the additional money?
Chief Delane.
The item for the water departments is just a utility truck. It's not a water carrying truck.
A water tender, is that not a water truck?
Ours is a water carrying truck. The water department's truck is just like a
Service.
utility service truck.
And what does that truck do?
I don't know exactly what theirs does. But it's be like the ones that you see that like a pickup truck with a utility box on the back of it.
And is there no way that the fire department tanker is rarely run out on,
So currently the fire department, we only have one water tanker
Yeah.
and that's part of whatever ISO rating is based off of how much water we can move. Which is what your fire insurance is based off of. The current water tender we have is 30 years old. It's from 1995.
right?
Right. So this is just us looking to replace it because it is rusting and leaking water.
Sure, I have no problem with
Right.
that.
Um,
Is it something we could use to do whatever
No, not even close. Ours is like a semi.
yours is a semi,
Yeah, and theirs is like a pickup truck that has a little crane on the back of it.
and what do they do with their water?
There's no water on theirs.
They go to service calls, so they'll
It's not a
pull
water.
fire hydrants, or they'll
Yeah.
look at pumps, or they'll pull pumps out
It's
of.
not a water
out of-
truck.
No, there's no water on their trucks.
I misunderstood what it was then. Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve C and J together.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion to approve consent agenda items C and J? No further discussion. We'll do roll call vote, please.
Trustee Baum?
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky? Trustee Hudson?
Aye.
Trustee Jan Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Rick Miller? Trustee Myers? Trustee Nightrider?
Aye.
Trustee Peeper? Aye. President Walter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, then consent agenda item I, which is change order number 4 cured in place pipe project for additional cost of materials with Visu Sewer in an amount not to exceed $332,919.46. Trustee Jan Miller.
Yes, I just wanted to find out, I could not find this item on the budget for 2023. So I reached out and I'm trying to get a further explanation. It seems like it's from a previous year. Could you explain that? Thank you.
Have our Mr. Ratachek.
So this project was bid in 2021, which it was in the 2021 budget.
Oh, okay.
And there were just some delays in getting it going, and it's just getting finished up at the end of last year. So it wasn't in the 23 budget. It was budgeted in 2021 through the wastewater utility. So it wouldn't even show up in the budget we present as far as the general levy budget. It's a wastewater utility budget.
Okay.
Was it paid installments or is it just paid on completion?
Paid installments as they got sections done. They did all in sections, and we would pay it as they got sections of the system done.
Okay.
They did a little over 7,000 feet in this project.
So how many more feet do we have to go?
It's the entire system, the entire interceptor sewer, the 40-inch diameter interceptor sewer is lined now.
Okay.
Yeah, they started it way back in, I think it was 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
was the first
Don
year it
Donch's
started,
Bay, yeah.
so-
Was this the one where the price increased then as well?
Yeah, the last piece that we just did this year.
Okay.
Right.
All right. And you might want to stay up there. Can I go on to,
You can if you want to make a motion at both of them at the same time.
Yeah,
But
I
sure,
would-
go
I
ahead.
would.
Then it's new business item P, open purchase order for the replacement of hydrant replacements, water main, water lateral repairs, gate valve repairs, water service repairs, and water main breaks in an amount not to exceed $400,000.
okay, on this one, it is 400,000. It's about, I'm going to use this off the top of my head, like a 244% increase over the previous year, with all these repairs. Is there a reason for, it looked to me when I looked at the 2022 budget or 2023 budget, that there hadn't been anything, it wasn't accelerated or an even amount pulled for 3 years. So it went from 400,000 and now 20,000 to 400,000 or something like that. So is this,
Steve,
a culmination of a certain project?
So this purchase order is an open purchase order for work that may occur over the course of the year in the water utility. So if there's a water main break in the middle of the night and a contractor is called out to replace that, it would be paid for out of, this contractor would be utilized off of this purchase order. Or when a car hits a fire hydrant on a Saturday and it needs to be replaced. So it is up to $400,000. It's only, we only use the amount that's necessary over the course of the year for those types of activities.
And then what happens to the balance? Let's say we use 100,000, we have a good year?
Yeah, then it remains in the water utility.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Trustee Miller, a motion?
I'll move to approve item I and P as in Paul.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve consent agenda items I and, it was I, right? Yeah, I and P. No further discussion? We'll do roll call vote, please.
Trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
trustee Baum, trustee Hudson,
Aye.
trustee Kaminsky, trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
trustee Myers,
Aye.
trustee Nightrider,
Aye.
trustee Pieper. Aye. President Walter.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, takes care of consent agenda. We'll go on then to unfinished business. There's one item listed, which is item A, library condenser. The budget manager, Matt Uselding, will be up here to present a little bit of background information for the board.
Good evening. In the packet, you had a memo regarding the library condenser project. If you recall, on October 7th, the village board opted not to fund the library condenser project through bond proceeds. At the November 7th board meeting, the village board opted to send the item back to the library board for consideration of paying for part of the project out of their capital reserve fund. At the November 16th meeting, the library board opted not to do that. And so before you, I have several funding options to pay for the library condenser. One being paying for it through general fund reserves, one through ARPA, and third, a split between the two funds.
Board? Trustee Kaminsky.
Where are we at with our ARPA funds right now? I mean, it'd be helpful to have that in front of me to see what's still available, but we don't, so.
Yes, there was going to be an ARPA update at the GGF meeting tonight, but that meeting was postponed. We have spent just over $500,000 of the $2.1 million. There was $200,000 allocated for street trees that could be used to pay for the library condenser. They both shake out at about $200,000.
We did decide not to do the street trees, if I recall correctly?
Correct.
Okay. Do they need this answer now? Or could it wait till after GGF on the 23rd?
I'll just point out, we do have a contract signed for the replacement of the condenser unit. I'm not sure exactly when the work would be scheduled. I doubt it will be complete before the first meeting in February. So I think you could postpone this until the February meeting if you'd like.
So this doesn't impact the heating, it's more for air conditioning?
This is for air conditioning. The condenser for the air conditioning unit is failing.
I would make a motion to postpone this until that first meeting in February, because it would be important for us to see where we're actually at on the ARPA funds and to take a look at where this money might be coming from. We had a number of discussions, and it's very competitive to see where we want to use these ARPA funds. And I know even in our last Public Works meeting, we were talking about the replacement of Division Road and how much that's going to cost. And so I think there is more discussion to be had on how ARPA funds are going to be used before I would just plunge into that and say, let's just use the so-called free money for this. Right now, I'd be leaning towards a split, but I would like more information.
Second.
Motion made to postpone and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to postpone? Trustee Hudson.
Is there an out clause on the contract?
I'd have to check. I don't know that off the top of my head.
I'd like to know that, please.
Okay.
And if there is, what the cost would be on that?
Okay. I'll have that for the meeting in February.
Thank you. Well,
To cancel or just because if it's postponed and still up in the air?
We need to.
I'd like to know both, to be honest with you. But
Okay.
if there's a time clause, I don't know that can wait until February.
Well, in essence, they have a signed contract. The only thing that we haven't decided is where it's coming from.
Yeah, my question is there an out clause on the contract? So can we cancel the contract without having to pay?
Okay.
It depends on whether or not they've ordered the condenser. That's an expensive piece of equipment, and
Absolutely.
they'll have to check the status of that.
Thank you.
Further discussion on a motion to postpone? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is new business, starting with new business item A. Sean Beshta, property owner of West 188 North 10050 Maple Road, ordinance 01-2023, to rezone a portion of the property from the A1 agricultural zoning district to the RS3 single-family residential zoning district. A conditional use permit listed as number 01-2023 for the recreational vehicle and boat storage and two-lot certified survey map to divide the property. To give us more information and background on this new business item A, we will turn our meeting over to our Community Development Director, Jeff Retzloff.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Beshta property is approximately 41 acres in size. It's located on Maple Road between Maple and US 41 from front to back, west to east, as shown on the aerial photograph. The property has existing development, single-family dwelling and 5 accessory buildings served by on-site well and septic system. The current zoning is A1 agricultural, and the property has extensive environmental features. The property straddles the Menominee River, and there's about 80 to 85% of the total area covered in either wetland, floodplain, or both. The proposal is to divide the property into 2 pieces to split off the existing house and one of the detached buildings on a 1.5 acre parcel, rezone that 1.5 acres from A1 to RS3, and to leave the balance of the property as it currently is and as it's currently used. The 2-lot certified survey map and the rezoning that have been proposed are, as discussed with the Plan Commission, not consistent with the 2050 land use plan classification. The 2050 land use plan classifies this particular area into the Shane Laufin Menominee River District, intended essentially for preservation. However, existing uses are allowed as is. There is an allowance as part of the 2050 plan that allows for undesirable uses to be allowed under special circumstances. And in the course of the discussion with the Plan Commission and over the course of 2 meetings, we have worked out an arrangement with the property owner that staff effectively agrees that there are special circumstances, provided that Lot 1, the larger lot, the 39-acre part, is designated as an outlot and prohibited from any further land division or development. And also that the existing use of the property for private recreation, private storage purposes is the only use that's allowed going forward. And both of those conditions can be met. We are also issuing a conditional use permit this evening that restricts the property to that private storage and private recreation use. And staff and the Plan Commission are recommending approval of that CUP as well as the two-lot CSM and rezoning with a series of conditions. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
On all items?
Yes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. No, I have a question. Wasn't this owned by somebody else before? Aren't some of those buildings that are in Lot 2, aren't those just like those steel storage buildings that used to be up there?
There is a metal pole shed, a machine shed, if you will, on the property. The property, the current owner acquired it, I guess approximately a year and a half. Do you want to come forward to Sean? Sean Vesta's here to respond to any questions that you might have.
There are existing buildings.
There's a button on the base.
That one's on.
It's on. Okay, that one's live. Thank you.
There are buildings, everything that's there is existing. They were a tool and die company at one point. There was a fire there, I think, if you guys remember, where the previous owner was trying to kill a woodchuck, literally with ashes, and started it on fire. That's still there. The buildings are all still there. I don't have any plans of building anything else. Just made the one lot with the house the same as the other lots across the street. And that's basically it. I don't have any plans to build anything, just use it for personal storage of stuff and recreation.
And you're still somewhat pretty limited to the back of your lot based on where, it's significant wetland and floodplain.
Yeah, it floods a lot back there. The driveway, the long driveway that you can see off of Maple that goes to my neighbor, his circle driveway in the back actually swings back onto my property. And our driveway that comes off of Maple, we kind of have a shared driveway that we've talked about, and he's agreed that if we want to make that wider or whatever, I'm not going to fuss with him as far as the driveway on the back goes. He's got a really nice house back there. So we worked together on that, and he was in all agreeance. I've cleaned it up a ton since I purchased it, so.
And you're not looking at any plans of adding buildings, storage buildings, any type of long-term storage plans?
Plenty there.
Okay. Further discussion, trustee Kaminsky.
Question, so what was the point of doing this? Just so you could have your house on a separate 1.5 acre parcel, or?
No, originally I bought this because the older folks that lived there, I worked for them when I was really young, and basically as they got older, they needed me more, and the purchase came almost 2 years ago when the property owner had been taken by a Jamaican lottery scam and gave him all his money, every penny. So I bought everything from him and kept him there and his wife as long as I could. He's since passed away. She's now moved out and living with their daughter, didn't want to be in the house. So my main purpose was I really liked the property, and I bow hunted on it and, ice skated on the pond and stuff like that for years. So I just wanted to keep it. And
So it's your way of keeping the property?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trustee Baum.
Did we get you any resolution on that swale on the south side that we didn't know who was responsible for cleaning it up?
I did pass along the concern to the highway department after our first plan commission meeting when that topic came up. I haven't heard of any particular resolution, no.
Okay, and the concern was that the utility put it in that drainage swale?
There's a gas pipeline that runs along from west to east along the south property line. And there's an easement within that. And I believe the concern was that as part of their work, they mucked up the system in a manner of speaking. And some additional dredging might need to be taken place in order to improve the drainage along Maple Road.
And that existing ditch that guy was talking about is actually not on my property, but would be easily accessible to go down through my property to improve
Okay.
that. And if it would alleviate the water, I'd be all for it.
Yeah. Are we still looking into that or?
Well, like I said, I passed along the concern to the highway department. I haven't followed up to see if they've scheduled anything in their program to address that. I can certainly,
Administrator Krecklow, can you look into this for us as to where the parties are with trying to figure out who's responsible for cleaning up this swale?
Yes, yes, we can look at that and report back. Would you like this to report back to the full village board or Public Works Committee or?
Start with the Public Works.
Public Works, sure. Send it back to
Okay.
them. Anytime.
All right.
I bring it back to the plan commission, but we don't do that, so.
Okay.
Give it
We'll,
away.
we'll take it to Public Works.
First item on the next agenda. Further discussion on the motion to approve. Trustee Byers.
I was going to say, Jeff, is it where there will not be able to have any residents living there? A part of this?
no, the house lot, the 1.5 acre lot, the intention is to split that off and sell the house so somebody can use it for dwelling purposes. But there's no other dwelling on the property.
That's what I was just curious about. Thank you.
Further discussion? No further discussion? I can do regular vote on this, right? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Not opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Besha, for coming.
Thank you.
Next item under new business is item B, discussion on police department IT staff needs. Give us some more information on this item. We have the police chief Snow here tonight. Chief.
Thank you. I brought this to public safety more for informational purposes and just as a background. If you recall, in 2019, Communications Supervisor Lynn Schmidt retired. She handled oversight of the dispatch and did a lot of our IT technical type things for us. My goal was to make that a IT person for public safety for us in the fire department. That was approved. As we moved forward, we had posted it. It was decided that we were going to go with Capital Data as a managed services for the entire village. Since that time, what's happened by us is we've really fallen behind where we were at in 2019. We're just not able to keep up with our IT needs. We have more sworn personnel working on IT issues than we ever had, and you have to just kind of remember that we don't write a ticket anymore without a computer. That's just the nature of the beast, and it's not going backwards. So one lieutenant assigned to TRAX, which is our electronic citations, is taking anywhere from 6 to 10 hours a week just to keep up with administration of the TRAX system. Lynn used to do all that. Troubleshooting camera issues, body worn camera, squad cameras, upload issues, Cradle Point issues. We're working with Capital Data on that, but my captain has turned into a part-time IT person as well. Certainly, and I made this clear to public safety, this is not us bashing Capital Data at all. We work very well with them. They're doing what we had asked them to do. We're just finding that our needs are far beyond that, and I just don't see that improving anytime soon. I just wanted this board to be aware of kind of where we were at, and solution-wise, I just think at some point we are certainly going to have to look at some additional staff to help us with those needs, so that I can take my sworn personnel and get them back doing what we need them to do. And if you have any questions, that certainly.
Board? Trustee Kaminsky.
I'm not sure who I direct this to, perhaps Steve or perhaps the chief, but what percentage of Capital Data's work is done for the police department?
I can say right now, and I don't, this is a off the top of my head estimate, but their largest projects that they're working on are in the police department, the replacement of the hardware, the servers that are utilized for ProPhoenix and the dispatch systems, as well as the upgrade of the ProPhoenix system. I think from my conversations with Chief Snow, in addition to the work that Capital Data is needing, I think what the police department is saying is that they need someone who is on site, who's handling some of the small things, the day-to-day things that come up on a regular basis, whether it's somebody's camera isn't working on that day and it needs to be troubleshot, and they need somebody there to do that. Or in the future with ProPhoenix, running reports out of the system. That's something that a managed IT services company typically wouldn't do, that you would want to have someone in-house that has a little bit of expertise to do that.
And the reports issues, that is an important one. Annual reports, monthly reports is something Lynn always took care of for us. Yeah, I should have mentioned that, but that's just, it's things like that that are just kind of getting lost now.
With Capital Data, once they get their installations in place, are they done with the police department, or could they be done with the police department so we could hire an IT person?
They would still, I think the division of labor would be a lower level IT staff person or administrative staff person who would handle these day-to-day things and be able to go to Capital Data if there's things that are larger or more complex that they're not able to handle at their skill level. So I don't think Capital Data would go away. I think their workload in the police department would go down. Their workload in the village would go down, or will go down when some of these major projects are completed. But I think having them for some of the more complicated things, I think having them do some training for the individual involved. But I do think in the long term, having a person that police and fire share for these types of things would probably be the most cost-effective way to try to address it.
What would that cost be?
I don't know.
We have an idea. We can have a ballpark for this.
We have run, some numbers. I think it would be similar. There was a position, as Chief Snow mentioned, that was presented to the village board a couple of years ago. I think it would be similar to that, and I believe the cost with benefits for that position was in the neighborhood of $75,000, $85,000 a year, in that ballpark. Yeah.
$85,000 2 years ago.
Probably more now, yeah.
At least they don't need a patrol car, right? So that's a straight 75, 80,000 as opposed to adding a vehicle on top of that. I think we need to work towards this. I have no solution. I mean, this being the beginning of 2023 and budgets being in place, but it's something I think that we should definitely find a solution for you before things get any worse. Because we definitely want our public safety staff doing what they're meant to be doing and not sitting in the office fixing problems. But thank you personally for bringing it to our attention. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You had originally said that there was a discussion in public safety. What was the outcome of the discussion?
We asked that it be brought to this full committee.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me.
That's fine. A question that I would have, first of all, so I guess there was no replacement plan for Lynn. So once she left, all that information kind of went with her?
That's correct. And the intent was with that new position that they would largely be doing what Lynn did, minus the only thing that would have, one of the only things different would have been, she would not have, that person would have not had oversight over the dispatch center. That would have been a sworn personnel.
What was one of the reasons we went with Capital Data? Because somebody had some sort of ProPhoenix knowledge within their staff?
They have
experience in working with the program in other municipalities?
They have worked on, one of the things that they did mention when we hired them is they did work on a ProPhoenix upgrade with Walworth County some time ago. They're not a ProPhoenix implementer or a partner, but they are a they are experienced with databases and networks. So I think they're qualified and they're capable of assisting with the upgrade of ProPhoenix. And if we asked them and if we paid them, they probably would provide resources to run reports out of ProPhoenix. But again, I think having someone on site would make it more accessible for the police department, would probably cost the village less if this was a resource that could be shared between police and fire.
Okay. Chief, question for you. Do you know if other communities like just surrounding Menominee Falls, Brookfield, Jackson, West Bend, do they have people inside that are specific to this duty, or are they contracting out for any of it?
They all have actual IT people designated. When you look at West Bend, Mequon, Menominee Falls may have two.
To the police department,
to the
on the police department's budget, or to the whole general
to the
government?
police department.
Okay. Village attorney?
Yeah, so at least with respect to Mequon, I can tell you that they have an IT manager who is responsible for kind of the whole city overall. They do have a public safety IT specialist who from time to time gets pulled over to City Hall to handle things, but their primary responsibility is in the public safety realm. They are just going through a comp and classification study right now. They are suggesting that the kind of range of salaries for that position for this year for 2023 is probably in the $63,000 to $85,000 range. So
okay,
pretty similar to what Steve indicated.
In that scenario and what you describe, I think that would be more common because we're not really looking at individual silos of systems anymore. We're looking at one system that talks across all areas, or one system that's, that's kind of joined. Some are specific or have softwares that are specific to that department, much like Department of Public Works does like ProPhoenix does for fire department, and like what your needs are with body cameras and any type of dash cam recording or issues that might go on with that. So I can see how individual compartment, in a compartment or department, a person could be specific to that, but I think we start to look at something overall as, like you stated, a manager, and then you have, those that are designated by their expertise. Now, this person would not be trained to also be a backup officer, right? They would just be specific to this system only?
Correct, a non-sworn personnel.
Okay. Trustee Pieper.
So the solutions that I thought of in public safety for this issue, would you possibly be able to train a communications officer or dispatcher or somebody that is physically at the police station? Would you be able to train them in ProPhoenix and have them be the contact for fire department and police department to fix those issues on a day-to-day basis?
I think we have some that are trained more than just a basic user and go to the ProPhoenix conference annually, but still don't have the level of expertise that Lynn had. Getting them to that point with, they're all assigned a number of duties as it is, and spread very, very thin right now. So getting them to the point where Lynn was at would be difficult, and doing it to the extent that she did while dispatching would be a hard.
Okay, then my second question would be, what if we did somehow give Lynn an incentive to come up here and train several communications officers? Yes, you would go over on overtime, and to me, it would be less expensive than hiring somebody full-time if you trained several communications officers on the ProPhoenix and had Lynn get them all up to speed to where she was.
I think that the issue would be, though, still pulling those dispatchers away from their dispatch, even if it's several of them. When it, at the time we're going through an upgrade right now with ProPhoenix, that's almost Lynn was doing that full-time during the duration of that, and just troubleshooting anything that happens resulting from the upgrade. Pulling dispatchers, I just, with what we're already assigning them to do, I really struggle to think that that would work.
How did Lynn get up to the expertise that she's at?
I think she came to us with just and being comfortable with IT issues. When we first went to Pro Phoenix, she was in the early stages of the implementation. She was right there during the course of it. Wauwatosa was the first one. She worked a lot with Wauwatosa and their IT person, so just got very, very well versed in it.
Okay. So the only, if we can't cross-train the communications officers or whoever is physically in the police department to do these tasks, I know it's needed. I know you guys are struggling with IT on a day-to-day basis, and so is John. And I would say that the salary is more about what Attorney Sajak mentioned, about 65, 75,000 for this position, because really you could take anybody who is not even trained in Pro Phoenix, and you can train them extensively in the software and have them be the middleman between capital data. But this is a position that's needed. It's needed now. Our fire department and our police department are struggling every day because of this. So I'm going to make a motion that we create this job posting. I don't know where the funds are going to come, but that's my motion right now.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Trustee Rick Miller.
Yeah, fully agree. So just in my corporate world, I oversee my IT department. Matter of fact, I'm very involved with it. I'm probably 20% of my job. And I do have a dedicated person that does help desk, sets up computers, can't print, those type of things. And I do have a managed service team as well. So this is very common to have some person on site to troubleshoot these little things. That isn't really the role of a managed service. It can be, but you burn up all your hours, right, for the month doing that. So I see a need here. I think we're discussing Pro Phoenix, but I don't see it just as Pro Phoenix. It's more anything to do with IT troubleshooting, help desk type stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're talking cameras, you're talking, like for the citations and, anything else that tracks and anything else that we're using, telephone issues, things of that nature that you might be working a lot with help or support from those companies, but it's still taking a lot of time to do that.
All right. Thank you.
Trustee Pieper.
I'd like to see this position become a village-wide position too. I don't know if the police station and the fire station, even both of them combined, would be 40 hours for this position, and I'd like to make it a village-wide where they would be the point of contact for capital data and be in charge of all IT-related issues across the village.
Isn't that a higher pay range? I mean, basically you were talking about somebody that could do your day in, day out.
Person could be trained. This person could come with very little experience and be trained to get to the point where they need to be. I mean, really all they're going to be, they need some sort of base of technology knowledge and experience.
You're
A
taking-
very small base.
Or seem to be really broadening here. I don't disagree with the
They're going to need
debate
to
point.
get trained in Pro Phoenix. End of story.
Okay. Anything else, Trustee Pieper? Okay.
Mr. President,
Village Administrator.
I was just going to offer that I think it is something staff could do, is to prepare a draft of a position description with an estimated salary range and some funding options, and bring that back through GGF and to the village board if that's the direction the board would like to go.
We do have his current motion. I would, further discussion, Trustee Hudson.
When does our contract with Capital Data come up for renewal?
Let's see, I believe it's the end of the year. Oh, we're on a month-to-month basis at this point.
So do we want to, we've been a little challenged with capital data. Do we want to make this a larger discussion, or is this a Band-Aid discussion? Solve the problem of today? Maybe there's a village-wide solution we can look at here. Just a thought?
If I could, the one thing I would point out is, although it is a month-to-month contract, there are some significant projects that they're in the middle of that I think are critical to the village's IT security. The upgrade of our firewall system, the reconfiguration of our internet connections, which are
When will those be done?
and I didn't come prepared to have a full discussion on capital data this evening. I don't know.
I'm not trying to have a.
Nope.
Had that, some of that at the GGF meeting, right?
I'm not looking to have.
It's several months, I think, until those firewalls are completely installed and configured. Switches are put in place. And we are working along with Capital Data, with Spectrum and with Ethoplex for the internet connection upgrades.
Yeah, I do, I listen to the two chiefs very, very closely. I just see a opportunity to maybe align the services our village offer in a more cost-effective way than continuing on with a vendor and hiring somebody, but those are my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Trustee Jan Miller.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. The item on the agenda is for IT for the police department, and I'd like to keep it focused that way. I sat in the meeting on public safety last week, and Chief Delane said he spent the entire day talking to Pro Phoenix, and there still wasn't resolution on a problem that they were having. And the overall issue that I have and problem, and you can correct me, Chief Delane, but is that we're taking our public safety, fire, police, and taking people out of their current positions, which is safety, or, you know, using the paddles on you, and working on IT. So we just need somebody that is skilled and approved for Pro Phoenix, because that seems to be the conundrum here. The village has capital data, and they have part-time Aaron Hearn, so they have something, but the police department and the fire department don't have dedicated, and that's what we're here to talk about. And there's motion on the floor to get them a person.
I
And
thought it
would
was
agree
just the
with it.
police department. Can we redefine that motion?
It's share, could it be
I didn't
shared?
say it was just the police department.
What is the motion? Can you read it?
Create job posting.
Or?
The village. Specifically, the police and fire. If there's any time over, they can be a middle person for the village.
Okay.
But for whatever time they do have, if it's under 40 hours, it's dedicated to those two departments.
Okay. Trustee Jan Miller, you still have the floor.
I would, Trustee Pieper, could we amend that and specifically say dedicated to fire and police?
No, I don't want to.
Well, she can still propose a motion and let the board decide. But she could amend it.
I'd like to amend.
Jan could amend it. Yes. So if you would amend, if you propose an amendment, we already have the idea that Trustee Pieper would not vote in favor of that.
Yes, I do. So I'd like to amend the motion to create a job for IT for shared police and fire person, IT person.
Motion made to amend. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion on the motion to amend. Go Trustee Rick Miller first.
Yeah, although I believe that this position will be largely dedicated to police and fire, I don't think it's realistic to say that they're never going to touch the village, IT, or anything like that. So, I mean, we're looking at this position to really support our public safety. And I see that being utilized at probably around 90% of the whole thing. The other thing I wanted to say is that personally, I believe this is the most cost-effective way to do it. Instead of hiring additional IT staff, I went out for managed services, so I was able to keep one person, one full-time person to support, and the rest is a flex. And if these projects are over, we're on a month-to-month. You lower the contract. You say, I only need X amount of hours now. That's the beauty of this managed services. They're a flexible team. So to me, this is the most cost-effective way to run the IT in the village.
By hiring a person or?
By hiring a person,
Mhm.
and flexing with the managed services for the rest of it.
Okay. Trustee Peeper.
My question would be if they were solely dedicated to police and fire, what if this person only had 20 hours of work for police and fire that week? Then what do they do? Just twiddle their thumbs for the rest of the time?
We get them on call.
Can I-
Start training them.
But I'm just saying.
I
if there-
understand.
you know,
It's a good point.
Technology ebbs and flows. Some week it's more labor intensive, other weeks it's not. What is this person gonna be doing when it's not a labor intensive week? I think it should be shared. I think, yes, dedicated to police and fire, their primary focus. But if there's extra time, I think they should be working on technology needs at the village because it's very apparent. There's a lot of needs here.
There is, but you also have to, well, go ahead. You still have the floor.
WebEx isn't working and the YouTube isn't working, the link, so nobody can really watch right now our meeting. So there, that says right there, there's a need for technology in the village. Maybe if we had this person, you know, people at home could be watching this meeting.
Further discussion on the motion to amend. Trustee Myers.
Would the two chiefs give an answer as to how many hours usually?
Could I maybe just make a suggestion before we do that? Rather than making the sausage here on the floor of the village board meeting, why don't we have the chiefs and the administrator and our dedicated HR personnel sit down, come up with a specific proposal? I think everybody is in agreement that we want to at least explore what this is going to look like.
But in a committee.
And then to bring that through with a formal proposal instead of just trying to shoot from the hip this
Right.
evening about what is or isn't appropriate.
There is also a step-by-step that needs to be happening, and it is important to dedicate the responsibility of what that person is, because it also is designated to the budget and the reopening of the budget to revise it and include whatever the outcome of this discussion is. I don't think anybody says that it's not needed, but you have to have a lot of information to come forward in regards to what the position is and in what responsibility it lies, so that as it's proposed to this body, we know where those cost centers are not only coming from, but where the money is to cover it is coming from. If everybody remembers correctly, there wasn't a lot of revenue that was left over, or if any, for additional personnel. So you would then also need to propose what other services you're cutting to cover these salaries. So that's a wide open discussion that we're not going to really get through here. So it either needs to go back to public safety to define what that position is or responsibility, or come up through staff and go through GGF so that we can get a better definition and have the committee do the work, and then the board can discuss the outcome of those committee.
Still would like to have my question answered, please.
Absolutely, Trustee Myers.
By us, I could bring a better response back to you. Anywhere between 20 to 40 hours is a very general estimate, but I know that it would be somewhere in that window.
And I'll bet you John's is the same.
I'll let John say, please. I understand what you're saying.
It's not the same every week. Last week, I spent approximately 25 hours myself on it. And I still haven't resolved my issue.
What about other weeks?
It does vary week to week.
Can you give me somewhat of an
I would
idea?
say probably a normal week would be 10 to 15 hours for myself.
10 to 15 hours for yourself?
Yep.
And 20 to 40. Thank you.
Yep.
Gentlemen.
We still have a motion to amend on the floor unless somebody wants to postpone that and put it into a committee. Further discussion on a motion to amend? Trustee Bone,
Table the motion or postpone?
it's whatever you like. You're making the motion if that's
Just want
what
to stop discussion now. Which
you,
one stop?
post table, would stop discussion.
Postpone that will stop discussion?
No, table would stop discussion.
Make a motion, we table this until it gets brought back to committee and discussed as the village attorney said.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
One opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Next item under new business is item C, Resolution 01-2023, Germantown Municipal Employees Union Local 730 Contract.
President?
Sir?
This was supposed to go to GTF. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman? Or the committee? So can
Yes, it
we-
was. It
can
was
we
on the
postpone this
agenda for
until it
tonight.
goes back to the committee and reports back to the full board?
Postpone or table? Postpone? That's your motion? Motion made and seconded. Discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Next item under new business is item D, 5-year street paving project plan. It lists this as, are we to accept this? Or is, I mean, I'm just kind of wondering what the action item is here.
This is a report from the Director of Public Works. There could be a motion to approve if the village board would like, but it's being presented for discussion purposes, so there's no action that's necessary.
Okay. All right. Mr. Ratachik. And partner.
Good evening. I'm going to start off, and then Jake, our engineer intern, will give most of the body of it. We're just here to present the 5-year plan. We do this annually. This year, we had to add in 2 more years, and we do select our roads off the PASER rating that was done in 2021. Those are done every 2 years, so the end of this year, October, November, we'll start redoing another PASER rating for this year and re-rate all the roads again. Really want to turn it over to Jake. He's going to describe the process we use to determine the roads, how we've been doing with the PASER rating, our averages, and I want to come back at the end and discuss funding and a new project dealing with the road program.
All right, so to start, I'll give you all some background information on how we go through and select the roads that you see before you in that packet. With the next 5 years of roads. The first tool of which we use is, as you see on the screen here, that is a graphical representation of our PASER ratings within the village. It's a scale of 1 to 10, roads marked as 1 being the worst, 10 being it was paved this year. We use these as general guidelines as for the condition of roads. Like Director Ratajczyk mentioned, the base level of them, so every road in the village is reevaluated on odd number years towards the fall, so this fall. But in between years, we do update these numbers based on the roads that we've paved and continue to develop as we install like new subdivisions and the likes. So for example, at the end of last year, our average PASER rating for the village was 5.65, and following the 2022 road paving program has brought that up to a 5.91 average. One of the other main tools we use that we've been developing is this map, which outlines all of the roads that have been included in paving programs since 2009. We use these especially in conjunction with the seal coating programs that we conduct every year in coordination with the Highways Department. These are very useful information telling us exactly how much we pave each year, how many lane miles we do pave. We paved somewhere around 4 lane miles of road this year as part of our paving program, and developers installed another 2 lane miles of road this year. Moving on to the packet here. I'll give you a brief overview of what all of this means. I know it's a little hard to read. This outlines along the left side all of the roads. Ones that are put into boxes are ones that are kind of clumped together geographically, same neighborhood, same region, that kind of thing. Roads highlighted in blue are candidates for a mill and overlay program, which would be as opposed to our typical reconstruction where we pulverize the entire road surface, tear it out, remove the asphalt, and pave back on top of that after repairing the base. Assuming we have proper pavement thicknesses, we can mill off the top 2 layers of asphalt, the wear surface of the asphalt, and pave a fresh wear layer on, a fresh surface layer on, which is a less cost-intensive method of repairing our roadways. Couple of main items of note, especially on the 2023 program here, is the Adams Court item. You'll see under the 2021 Paiser rating that road is marked as a 5. We have that on this program as there will be a drainage project conducted in that area, and we figure while we're tearing out half the road anyway, we may as well repave the whole thing. Along a similar vein is the Glenwood Park subdivision, which is going to be undergoing a large renovation of our sewer and water lines through that area. Part of those costs will be borne by the sewer and water utilities, and only a portion of that will be coming out of the road program here. Below all of those items are our alternates. We bid out several alternates each year, which give us flexibility within our budget, as well as flexibility in the roads that we do. If you look on future years, we essentially leave those open for that very flexibility, selecting alternates that weren't bid, as well as any additional roads from future years. One other key item to note in the 2024 and 2025 sections is an area for Division Road. There are a couple of items there for various proposed plans for Division Road. However, Director Ratajczyk has further details on that. If the board would like, I can go in depth on each of the next 5 roads here. Otherwise, I am happy to answer any questions you trustees may have.
Board? Well, don't go that easy on them. Nice presentation, by the way. Nothing. Okay. No, you don't have to make it up. You don't have to make it up.
Something.
So,
I have a question.
Yes, Jan Miller, Trustee Miller.
All right. We have, what percentage of the roads in the village of Germantown are 4 and below, 3 and below?
we can calculate that. We just didn't bring that with us, but the way we set up our spreadsheet a year ago, we can go in there and sort that and come up with that number.
So do you think it's the majority? I mean, just looking at this, it looks like 2s, 3s, 4s.
We're just getting, we started into the 3s last year, and I think the 3s are probably the next heavy lift group. And, but we can get you the percentage of the 4s in the village, 4 or less.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
And in the report, it gave us an overall average of 4.6, or what was it?
Right now, we're at 5.91 for an
5.91,
average.
okay.
We're well above, we're good. When I was at West Bend, they were striving to get to 5.
All right, cool.
So, anyway, I'll continue on. If you think of more questions, we can answer those. There has been discussion of what we've spent yearly, the past many board meetings, and I'd like to clear some of that up. In the 2022 program, we did bid out about $1.8 million of work. We could not award that work because I wasn't confident how much money we had rolling over in our paving account. Due to the fact and the change of the finance department, it didn't carry over from the previous administration of that department into there. So I couldn't determine the amount right away. I went through the year and finally about August, September, through doing a whole spreadsheet and going through many accounts, going back all the way to 2019 projects and determining all the costs and all the side number costs that were charged to that project. I did come up with a final number. Right now, we're about $800,000 in the bank in the paving program. So with this year's funding allowance of $1 million, it was taken from 1.5 to $1 million in the budget process. We'll have about $1.8 million to spend on paving program. And as I discussed previously, I still like to keep some balance in there for extras. For instance, Lovers and Century Lane this year, the soils were much worse than we anticipated, and that little project, I consider a little project, it has about an $80,000 overrun on the bid number. So it helps to have some flexibility in the paving project to have funds to cover that. So I hope that clears that up, that we have been trying to spend the money, but I couldn't commit to it in 2022. I did not have confidence in the funds that were available at the time. Paisley rating, as Jake had stated, is going to be redone this fall, and I've stated. And I'd like to move on to another project, Division Road. It's coming clear to me that Division Road we won't get a grant for. We don't meet the qualifications that the grading of the grant funds come from. Many municipalities won't. I went to a meeting where we discussed this, Fox Point, Shorewood, Brookfield. Everybody's complaining because we scored very well. We scored 69 points. Division Road was a $5.1 million project submitted for the grant. And we scored 69 points. The Milwaukee and West Dallas were awarded to a project each. They were at 84 points. That gap of points is something we can never score in. It's a matter of public transportation, bus stops, dangerous intersection rated by the DOT, some items that our streets, so as division, just wouldn't even qualify. And that's where we gave up those points. All the other municipalities in our boat were all expressing their anger. It wasn't even just unhappiness, it was anger at the rating system, because basically West Dallas and Milwaukee can take all the roads they want every year because they have many roads that meet the scoring opportunities that are presented the way the program is decided who gets grant money. So with that, I think we need to face the fact, I presented this to the committee, that we're not going to get a grant for Division Road. I think Division Road, since I've started working here 7 years ago, it should have been on a list then, but it's a very expensive road. And if we're looking at a $5 million project, which included some intermodal walkway reconfiguration, some geometric reconfiguration for turning lanes, those kind of items, drainage, we have to start looking at a way to fund that. And we have to decide, is it going to be an urban section or a rural section? Rural section being what it is, urban being curb and gutter. It's a decision that the committee or board has to make, so we could move forward and getting an engineering firm to design what we want and desire to have out there. How do we fund that? I presented the committee that maybe what we do is there's some non-borrowed money available to us. One, we're going to get a refund from the local road improvement program from Country Air Drive of $63,874. There's been ARPA funding put towards the road program of $750,000, of which I believe $80,000 was going to be earmarked for our portion of Maple and Atlanta Road intersection. Excuse me. And then there's a jurisdictional transfer money from Freistadt Road of $691,500. So that comes out to roughly $1.44 million. And I would suggest maybe that's the starting fund for the Division Road. It's non-borrowed money. We're not paying interest on it. But I don't know how else we would do Division Road without taking funding, a loan out for it, because we will be around that $4 to $5 million for that project from one end to the other. Or we do it in sections. We do it in 3 sections.
Can you define one end to the other?
And there would be Mequon Road to the southern end would be just south of Wendy Lane where the curve is. Somewhere in that area is where we would start it.
So you're nowhere west of that, where Division Road picks back up again off of 145? You're not thinking about any parts of that Division Road, just Mequon to pretty much, let's say,
Wendy Lane.
Wendy Lane, or call it right before the dentist's office.
Right, right. That's what we'd be looking at. The $5.1 million only went to Revere Lane.
Okay.
There was the reasons that it was felt that we went further than that, we would be really out of consideration. And it turns out it didn't make a difference. So I'm saying if we add in that extra amount, we're still going to be around the $5 million, depending what we want to build. If we want to go urban and curb and gutter, you're probably looking at $6 million.
It's something to think about long-term,
So
25 years out. If that road gets rebuilt, you got to look 25 years out.
Yeah, but I mean, my question is, Larry, that road is not in very good condition.
No.
What is your thought on when we need to push this?
if we could put a Band-Aid on it and mill and overlay it, we could mill 2 inches off and put 2 inches on and not do any base patch repair. And you're going to see where it's depression and failing. You're going to see that in a couple of years. It'll smooth the ride out. It'll smooth all the utility cuts that were made in the road, and we could blend the manholes in better and make it ride smoother. But it's not going to improve any of the turning lanes. It wouldn't improve any of the intermodal sidewalk or walkways. You'd have what you have out there.
What would the cost of that be?
You're guessing $300,000
I like that.
total guess.
Otherwise,
You're going to have a road with a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah.
you're going to have a road that's drivable with a Band-Aid on it, which has been getting worse year by year by year.
Sure, but
Versus where do we come up with 5 point whatever million dollars in what? I mean, that road won't even, it'll be gravel within 3 or 4 years.
And I did get a cost for an,
It's a mess.
I did a cost for an engineering firm to survey it and design it, and you were between $275,000 to $300,000, depending, again, urban or rural section.
Right.
So you're looking at $275,000 to $300,000 just to survey and design.
And what condition do you think that road would be in 3 years? I mean, I could
It's
see.
probably a 3, less than a 3 or a 2 in some areas right now. It rides pretty rough in some areas.
that's really nice between Bittersweet and Revere.
Right where Heritage Park North went in.
But anyway, I guess my point is, I think this is a much more imminent project than, I would think we need to know it's a much more imminent project. It's a very highly traveled road, bringing people in and out of Germantown. And I think it's something that we definitely have to kind of wrap our arms around. We're going to be revisiting at a committee level. And especially in hearing the possibility of how long a pulverized and overlay might help us. I mean, I think we should bring that back and have that further discussion at committee.
I can get the overlay priced out, and we could use the ARPA funds that were dedicated towards paving for this year to do that surface relay on there.
Village Administrator.
I think from a process perspective, I think one of the first things that staff would look for feedback from the board is some thoughts on what the design of the road would look like, because that's going to dramatically impact the price. And I think we could work on bringing back to committee and then the board some options of what Division Road could look like in terms of, on the one hand, as Director Ratajczyk mentioned, either a full curb and gutter and more urban layout, and other iterations of that might be of interest to the board. But I think making that decision and getting that feedback up front would help with costing it out and then determining how to finance it.
Trustee Jan Miller.
Thank you. Larry, would it make any difference? First of all, I would say it needs to be done, Division Road. It needs to have some kind of a path, walking, biking. But does it go all the way? I think we have a couple of blocks that did it finish? Did they finish? It
There's
goes
a
all the
break.
way.
You're correct.
There are a couple of breaks.
One piece missing at the south end to
Yeah,
make it
okay,
contiguous.
let's talk about, Yeah, the sidewalk. Let's talk about the south end. It's just a question. So it sounds to me like when you went to this meeting and you're looking for the grant, they're looking at all these busy intersections. I don't want to add any, work, but connecting Division between Mequon and County Line, those are two very busy streets. Does that elevate it as far as?
It elevates
a
it, but
question.
you're still missing out on the public transportation aspect.
Oh.
And there's a couple other items that kind of tie into that, that the big cities who have many individuals that need to take public transit to work and go shopping and things. We don't have a public transit system here. That's one of the things that most of the cities, villages that are complaining about is we'll never be able to check those boxes. We'll never be able to check the boxes.
It's not public, but there's a bus that goes to the parking lot. Yeah, the parking
Yeah,
lot.
they're looking for bus stops along the roadway. They're looking at there's a bus that comes down Division Road and it stops at Donges Bay and it stops at Old Farm and,
On and on.
transporting residents around.
Yeah.
We'll never have that. We'll never check those boxes.
Well, I think we need a lane for biking or the sidewalk / trail to be completed so that people can walk or bike all the way
Well,
up and down.
That's what I'm mentioning. That's what Administrator Krugel just mentioned. We would need to discuss and get a design, but in the meantime, that's a $5 million road. By the time we're done putting a big sidewalk in and regrading, and you're talking $5 million, keeping an urban section with some more geometric reconfiguring for turn lanes. If we want to just Band-Aid it and get a 5 or 10 year life road out of it, we could put 2 inches of new surface on it and make sure it rides good. And it'll last, you'll get 10 years out of it, out of a mill and overlay.
Perhaps you should do the Band-Aid and get the 5-year plan to fund something bigger.
That's why I'm bringing it
That's my
forward.
thought. Thank you.
So just so we get a definition and a direction from trustee Jan Miller, so it would be your wish to keep it as it is, which is mostly urban, and to expand upon or improve upon the walkways and or bike paths that are currently there. Is that a fair statement? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because I guess your point is to ask, what would we like to see there? What does the board want to see so that they have a direction to come forward with possibilities? Trustee Hudson.
Pardon my ignorance, but does the $5 million include or exclude replacement of the bridge?
Exclude.
So we're going with the bridge that's there,
Yes.
and that's
We weren't making it a 4-lane road. It was basically be a 2-lane road with widened shoulders, paved shoulders, which the bridge allows for that right now. It was built wider for
Yeah,
some width
yeah.
improvements. That's why the cars can park there, because it was built for a future road.
Efficient.
Efficient, that's right.
Foresight.
Is that a 4-lane bridge or a 2-lane bridge that's just wide?
I think it's a 2-lane bridge for 12-foot lanes, and then to have some paved shoulders and then some room to the walls after that.
Okay. Thank you.
If we're looking for recommendations, I could tell you since I've lived in the village since 1991, that Division Road used to be very quiet and rarely used, where it was easy for you to get out of your subdivision or from any intersection, get on it and get from one place to the other. Within the last 10 to 12 years, it is no longer that. With the addition of Meadow Creek Crossing, Lone Oaks, some of the subdivisions off of Lilac, some expansion of subdivisions. As you go in, I'm thinking of what is it? Country Meadows West expanded, and currently the 30 lots that are for the new subdivision that runs between Revere and Bittersweet. That'll also add traffic. When we look at the expansion or the replacement of that road, because it's one of 4 roads that go from one border to the next, somewhat. You'd be looking at Wasaki as one road that allows north to south. 145 is the second, Pilgrim is the third, and Division is the fourth. Maple Road is there too, but it has other issues in regards to the wetlands it crosses. Just about every subdivision that touches Division Road is curb and gutter, except for maybe 3 intersections that I can think of off the top of my head. One of them being Concord, maybe Wendy Lane and down on Lilac, but any other subdivisions to the east are curb and gutter. Looking at an improvement of 25 years and that road being more traveled because of the connections that are occurring with the new subdivision off of Revere. I think it needs to be improved in regards to its width, its egress, degress into the different subdivisions, and also its bike path and walking. It is part of the plan for extending the bike path and all walkways. It's part of that walkway path plan that we have to get you over to county line. There are some breaks on it that need to be addressed, whether if it's decided to be a partial fix or if it's decided to be a full blown out repair. We do need to close the gaps on the sidewalks to the far west. With that, though, there has been some requests to take the ditches that are there and close them up and put in culverts as well, because other areas that were sidewalked up to Wendy Lane were filled in for culverts along some of the people's frontages, so they're requesting it to be the same so that they don't have to cut their ditches. So it's something to consider. But for my opinion, I'd like to see the road improved because it is a main thoroughfare. It will carry more traffic, and you need to look at a plan for 25 years plus in the village. And it will be a major thoroughfare, or one of 4 that carry traffic from north to south in this village. Further input? So we had yours already, Jan. Go ahead. Trustee Jan Miller.
My suggestion would be make it drivable now, because we're not going to come up with 5 million on our own in the next 6 months.
No.
That's a process. So if you can get 5 more years out of it, and then do a big job.
And I can't disagree with that thought process, but then the big job becomes that much more. I mean, the cost will always increase. So you could add probably in 10 years another 3 to 5 million on that in the cost to replace it. It's a Band-Aid. And I think you very well remember Donges Bay and the project we were looking for not ARPA funds, but for Wisconsin Department of Transportation funds for that too. And for the same reason, when Milwaukee came in and took all of it and we were left with none of it, we decided that we were going to take this project on ourselves, and had some costs because of what we lost in the engineering of that road, because it was going to be improved and have more curb and gutter sections to it. But because we decided to take that project on ourselves, we threw those engineering plans away, and we had to pay for them because it was a Wisconsin Department of Transportation project. But we did not have the ability to do that road all at once, and we did it in 2 sections. Division Road, I would think could be broken down into 2 or more sections, and the $5 million would have to be spread across multiple years, and you would have to decide what makes the most sense, or we would, or with input from staff, where those breaks are. But I think we need to look at long-term what the road needs will be, and to plan accordingly for those needs. A Band-Aid is fine from keeping water being splashed from the opposite lane into your windshield, but I think it's a Band-Aid of basically of money that's just going to be replaced and cost more for the real fix. And that's just in my opinion, but it will be the board's decision of how they want to progress. And with the input of the neighborhood as well, and those that are directly impacted. Further input? Trustee Hudson.
I apologize.
Already?
just preparing for later. Economies of scale area, right? So one 5 million job, does that equal 5 $1 million jobs? Or does that equal two $2.5 million jobs? You know what I'm asking?
I know what you're asking, but there's, it does not equal 5 $1 million jobs. Because those 5 $1 million jobs could be less intensive than what this project is. This project could be, several more projects. There's just a lot to do on this project with that $5 million included. It included ripping out all the walkways that are there and repaving them and regrading wider. It included filling some ditches in with storm sewer, like the one from Lilac going north on the west side to the ponds.
Does it make sense to break it up over 5 years, right? I know we'd have to engineer it at one time, and that's a sunk cost, but then
5 years might be too much. I think you start irritating the traveling public. Initially I thought maybe Mequon to Donges and then Donges south into 2 parts.
is
But
that,
you're looking at $2.5 million each year, which is still beyond our road paving.
it is, but it's better than this number,
But eventually you get to that number.
eventually.
The second year you're at that number.
Years.
Trying to help Terry.
And there's probably economy and scale to just then do it all at one time.
Mhm. All right, anything else to add, Mr. Ratajczyk?
Nope, I was just trying to get some guidance and start the discussion is what I was trying to do, and that's what I think we did tonight. We started the discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item under new business is item E, Germantown Historical Society. Request to waive contractual $5,000 loan payment for Fest Hall for the purposes of restoration of Christ Church stained glass windows as recommended by the Tourism Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Trustee Rick Miller.
Yeah, a little bit of background here. So the Germantown Historical Society owns the church, owns Christ Church. That's the only thing that they own. Dinesville is all owned by the Village of Germantown, the Wolf House and all that. And these glass windows are very expensive to get fixed. It isn't the stained glass itself, it's the structure around the stained glass that's failing. So at the Tourism Commission, we decided to give them, they were looking for about $18,500. We decided to give them $13,500. And the recommendation to the board is then to waive the next payment of $5,000 to the village for, which would have been the Fest Hall payment. So that's a little background. Just wanted to give that before we voted.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? No further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Myers?
Aye.
Trustee Rick Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Baum?
Nay.
Trustee Hudson?
Yeah,
Trustee Kaminsky? Trustee Jan Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Nightrider?
Aye.
Trustee Peeper? Aye. President Walter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item under new business is item F, Resolution 02-2023, Resolution for an advisory referendum regarding an agreement with Washington County to share sales tax revenue. Give us, this came forward as, through Jackson or Kewaskum?
Mr. President, I brought this thing forth out of Mid-Moraine, which you appointed me to, that committee. And
Yes.
it's been in discussion for years. So if I could have these two individual people give their insight in regard to this, because they're the ones that have been working on this for years now.
Okay,
Thank you.
gentlemen? It's on.
It's on.
Yeah, we do that on purpose.
sales tax. And it was a individual type effort. To the legislative to request that auctioning sales tax. 20%. With municipalities watching the county. What's the exact? With discussed it, voted in that, both in Washington. Yeah. To request that the county share of sales. The effort in Washington has gone much quicker and much further than one village president, the Zaki County really took the time to get involved. So, Washington County, Jay Shambo and Association, we felt that if we as cities and villages tried this on our own without the support of towns, so we as Washington County, and at the meeting, we present our Josh. The exec was also at that meeting, expressed his view on that. He would prefer that the county share the sales tax. So we asked the members that were, if they would be interested in working with us. But raising up hand, vast majority of the town chairman said, yeah, let's go for this. You, town chairman, Jay Shambo, myself, Nadi, the president of our association, Sagi, he's an alderman. Hartford is the associate legislative chairman. So we met with Josh at the county, and he kind of just shrugged us off. Said, no, there's no way. We aren't going to give it, even discuss it. We asked, what if we asked for an referendum? Each community has their voters. Say, would you support the county sharing the sales tax? He said, don't even go to referendum, because if you do that, the answer is no right away. President's opinion didn't matter. It was his view. So we put together an advisory referendum. It's simply worded, because most referendums, they're very confusing. A lot of times, you know, voting the right way to vote. So we put it together very readable, and we're asking each municipality in Washington County to send a notice to the clerk in Washington County and have this issue put on your April ballot. The $3 million we felt had to be dispersed to our municipalities in a fair way. And the way we decided with the Towns Association and the members of Minmo was to split it based on half on population, equalized them. So then the towns that don't have a lot of people, they have a lot of equalized value. So it would be a fair way to disperse it. So we put a chart together. And the gentleman was up before and spoke on this issue. The village of Germantown, if we get this approved, it would see $482,000
$666 a year. We felt that this money should not just be added to a budget. It should be money that should be used for additional road maintenance. So our effort tonight is to have him pass a resolution stating that you'll put this, request that to come and put this on your April ballot as an advisory resolution.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
Chair, Mike asked if I would track the state. As of tonight's meeting, there are 7 that have already adopted resolution. It's also on your agenda, so Slingers this evening. So
Okay.
Rivertown and Slinger would be, it's already over 50% of the population. Sales tax that's generated within the city of West Main. It just hasn't shared today. It's really modeling the program after Sheboygan County has a similar sharing program, and Ernest Brown County has been discussing this. The city of Lapeer has been requesting shares. So I think it's something that is going to get some additional requests throughout the state. We did run it past Kropotensky and Jerry DeShane from the league, so your board can know that this has been vetted through the channels.
Okay, and they check state statutes. This is an acceptable format, and it actually can happen based on.
Started the county sales tax was the legislature changed the statute to sales tax with a main share of the county state.
And the sales tax that was, it originated from the improvements or the Cabela's building program?
For that.
Okay. And it's now since been dispersed through other areas, even including economic development and revolving loan funds and stuff. Okay.
I do think it's important for the board to know that had the county chosen to share the sales tax a time ago, they would have recouped $3 million back just by natural growth. So the sales tax has been growing at a clip of about 500. So that's grown exponentially. You have that data here.
And mm-hmm. And this is brought before the county board each year, and they vote to either sustain it or increase it? Is their budget biennial or is it yearly? Questions, Trustee Hudson?
I have 2 questions. Why wouldn't it be shared proportionally as to where it's collected?
The idea was sales and sometimes wanted to get money in from, that's what would happen. We have to include everybody.
Yes, that answers my question. You're not asking for my opinion. Thank you. And then the next question I have is, why are we restricting it to roads when Washington County just put forth a referendum on public safety?
It was felt if we took the money, seek the money, used our budgets by that amount, municipalities aren't gaining it. But they had extra money put to roads or anything. Talked about it, I think that something that needed. Just discussing. Everybody needs the roads to be fun.
Are we able to put roads or public safety in the referendum, or are we not allowed to change the language of the referendum? Is that a problem if we put public safety in there? Because as you also heard tonight, we have a dire need for funding for public safety in our community.
The main point is share.
I understand. We all want them to share. That's it.
When trustee Hudson is
It's a comment,
included,
to
trustee Kaminsky.
what you were saying, trustee Hudson. Let's say it's left alone the way it is with roads, right? So we get $400,000 for roads. We can reduce our roads budget by 400,000.
He said it has to be additional spending. We're not allowed to do that.
Oh, we're
The
not.
gentleman
Okay.
said.
It's not additional spending, it's factored in. Constituents say yes. It's an eight. $500,000. $500,000.
So we could play the old, shell game a little bit, and you'd have your public safety
If I-
covered.
If I could, just on that point, but since we borrow for roads, we wouldn't be able to do that. We wouldn't be able to replace the money that we're spending on roads with, to put it towards public safety because we're bonding $1.5 million for the roads.
Yeah, but we do also have a general fund line of about 400,000.
Or it could be towards the resurfacing.
For the crack filling and.
Yeah. I see lots of ways around this.
If Terry sees ways around, I might be able to support this.
Trustee Pieper?
I'm not necessarily opposed to this at all. I do think that this is making us head in the right direction. But rather, I would like to see the village of Germantown become a city and us keeping our entire sales tax revenue.
Yeah.
Nobody said that when I asked the question.
Right.
You can elaborate if you'd like.
Sure. Well, cities or villages or cities are not under current state statute allowed to collect our own sales tax. And all sales taxes are collected by the Department of Revenue at the state level. And they generally don't track it by municipality. They will provide that information if requested, and there may be a charge for it, but they're only looking at that from the county level.
What kind of charge?
It depends. It's basically reimbursement for the hours that they spend on that time, and I don't know. We might be able to manage that by asking for it by zip code or some way that they're able to sort the
Probably
information.
about $400,000.
No, it depends on a lot of factors. I just don't have that information, but
Could you look into it a little more?
I could give the State Department of Revenue a call and to see what data they have available and what it might cost to get additional data.
Sir?
One thing we did check in is if we do receive this. Certain things, see revenues in the community. That's no.
Oh, interesting.
Check it out. Which makes it even more.
Appreciate your efforts, gentlemen.
Appreciate it if you. But we have to be to become no later than January.
That's Tuesday. Other questions? Or, thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate the input and the information. Village attorney or village administrator, anything to add?
I guess the one point of clarification that I would make is that if this is an advisory referendum, so if it did pass, it would still have to be, adopted by the county board and the county executive, and that would have to be done on a budgetary basis. So, and I think one of the differences with, I'm not an expert on Sheboygan County, but I think theirs was done at the beginning of the implementation of their sales tax, and there's an ongoing agreement that some of it is shared. In this case, it's something that would have to be approved every budget at Washington County. So if it was approved initially, it could go away in the future. It would not necessarily be an ongoing source of revenue.
But it's something for them to consider because everybody there now on the county board is an elected official. Trustee Hudson?
I'd like to make a motion to put an advisory referendum on the ballot that states, would you support an agreement where the county could annually share 20% of the revenues with the cities, villages, and towns to apply to local road maintenance and construction?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Trustee Kaminsky, you had your hand up?
I know, but it's okay. I'm done talking about it.
Okay. Discussion. Trustee Chandmiller.
I'm in agreement with this. Looks like, it sounds like Division Road to me. Anyway, yeah, we're going to call it the Division Road referendum. In the first paragraph in your resolution, it says, whereas in 2021, Washington County, it should be collected, and I'm going off of what they wrote. Just, could you make that update? And we're good to go. Thank you.
Further discussion.
Mr. President.
Village attorney.
Might I suggest for the movement and the seconder that we authorize as part of that motion, the village attorney to create as part of the resolution an explanation statement, which is required by statute when you do a referendum, and typically your resolution has both the question and the explanation statement as part of that resolution, and it's not here. So,
Do you have that? Okay. All right.
And it would be something along the lines of
Is
a
that-
yes. Yes means yes, you agree that it's going to go to the county or going to share it with us. No means we wouldn't.
That's fine, but paraphrase what he said, please.
All right, and that's okay with the second as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? No further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Hudson.
Aye.
Trustee Jan Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Baum.
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky. Trustee Rick Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Myers.
Aye.
Trustee Nightrider.
Aye.
Trustee Peeper?
No.
President Walter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next item under new business is Village of Germantown property owner located at North 104, West 12703, Donges Bay Road, 2-lot certified survey map to redivide properties into TID number 9, Town 9 Business Park. To give us more information, background on this new business item, once again, we'll turn the meeting over to Community Development Director Jeff Retzloff.
Thank you, Mr. President. This certified survey map is effectively a housekeeping measure that was deferred from last fall when we processed the rezoning for the properties that were acquired by the village for the DPW site, facility site, and also the original component of TID 9 for future industrial development. Here's the CSM. It was deferred to allow for final decisions regarding surveying, right-of-way requirements, providing access to the GFL property located to the west of the DPW facility property that is now under contract with Stonecast Products, and also pending final information concerning an old cemetery that was located in the far northeast corner near the intersection of Donges Bay and Wasaki Road. So the final CSM that's shown on the screen is in its final form and subject to final village board approval. Plan Commission recommendation is to approve as proposed.
Word? Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Trustee Jan Miller.
Jeff, isn't the, how is the cemetery outlined on this? Is this the?
Outlot number 2, it's a little cluttered with all the lines and the reference
Isn't there a
pointers.
blow-up on that? Didn't you have somebody in Plan Commission that showed a little bit closer?
I actually don't. I pared down my slides to keep my presentation shorter.
It's found the foundation of an old church in about
I saw the pictures.
15.
I just don't see
sites.
it on, yeah.
Yeah, in the backup material, there's a report that had been prepared by the archaeological group that did the investigation and provided a lot of great detail concerning the 6,000 square foot area that we're setting aside as an outlot.
There's also plans for a plaque to recognize it as such.
So you're not going to mow it over and put a building on it?
No,
Great,
no, we're not putting a building on it. It's being set aside.
right.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I understood.
Further discussion. Trustee Myers.
I was going to say, is there any agreement with the person Keller in regard to their development in there? Is that going to pose any problems?
No, I don't foresee any particular problems. They've been aware of the burial site from the beginning and have been able to work around that. Topography comes into play as well, so it's not going to be an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion. No further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye, opposed? Opposed, raise your hands. That's just a one, or what is? Bill, were you aye or nay?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. Thank you, sir. All right, motion passes. Next item is item H, extension of sewer service area to the northeast corridor of Richfield. Village Administrator.
Mr. President, and I'll start out and the village attorney can jump in. This is just an update for the village board. Pursuant to the terms of the intergovernmental agreement with Richfield regarding providing sewer and water service area to their northeast corridor, we have started working on the process of getting approval to expand the sewer service area to that area, to that land. We have been holding some meetings with Village of Richfield staff as well as consultants that they brought on to manage the project. And last week, we had an initial meeting with staff from Sewer Pack to discuss this expansion and the process. We will be, over the next few weeks or months, be moving forward with the steps. One of those steps will include a resolution that the village board will need to act on, formally requesting the extension of that service to that area. So again, this is just an update to let the board know we're working on this process and what to expect going forward.
Okay, thank you. Questions? No questions? Trustee Myers?
Thank you for bringing this up and informing the board.
There's nothing else on this new business item. We can go then to our, I'm sorry, Trustee Jan Miller.
Question, is Sewer Pack the only other approval that you need?
No, there will be other approvals that are necessary, including MMSD, who again is aware of this, and they'll be one of the next actors in the process. The DNR will have to take action there. They're typically the last ones to make approval. And then more on the water side of things, the Public Service Commission will have to review this and set rates.
Anything else? And we can go to the next items on the agenda, which are for closed session, I, J, and K. First one reading, Resolution 37-2022, disallowance of claim. Nancy Rydell, the village board may enter into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85 subsection 1, subparagraph G, for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, and then may reconvene into open session to take such action as it deems appropriate. Item J is.
Mr. President,
Yes,
could we
sir.
just stop there? I can give an update just verbally. There's not much to talk about. I don't know that we need to go into closed session. The hope was that we were going to have the attorney from the insurance company available. He and I played phone tag over the course of the past couple weeks, and he was not able to be here this evening. I did touch base with him at the end of the week. Just to give all of you the update in terms of where things are, staff reached out to their counterparts at the insurance company. They've been dragging their feet on assigning an adjuster to go out and take a look at it on our behalf. The attorney is committed to leaning on staff to get that done expeditiously as well. So we're hoping to have something for you at the first meeting in February.
Okay.
Has this information been updated to Ms. Rydell?
It has not yet. This was kind of late breaking news, so we'll be sure to let her know as well.
So
Present.
she's right there.
She's
I
here.
mean, I think our staff needs to do a much better job in communication and keeping them up to date on what is going on, where we're at in the process, what we're waiting for.
As was just done.
Well, it should have been done not in a village public meeting format. She should have been updated weeks ago.
But we just got the information. Isn't that what you said?
Right. Well, and in fairness, she has been advised that we have been waiting on an adjuster to go out and that we've been in discussions with the insurance company. She has been told that. And so this is not, I don't think, a surprise to her.
No, but then, I mean, it's been what, like a month or something since she's had any communication? I mean, honestly, it's just the professional thing to do is just give her an update what we're waiting on. And yeah, we're still waiting for information. This is where we're at. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Point of information, Mr. President. Then will we just go in closed session for J and K then?
Correct.
That would be correct.
Thank you.
Closed session for J reads as Project Guardian proposal. The village board may enter into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85 subsection 1 subparagraph E for deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. and then may reconvene into open session to take such action as it deems appropriate. And item K, which is administrator performance review process and criteria, the board may enter into closed session per Wisconsin State Statutes 19.85 subsection 1 subparagraph C for considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which a governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and then may reconvene in the open session to take such action as it deems
Motion to
appropriate.
the closed session for new business item J and new business item K with the following people for item J.
Second.
With the following people for J.
The Christian Cheslak from Economic Development, Washington County, the Community Development Director, and the Village Attorney.
Okay, and for item K.
That would just be me.
And Deanna can go
Deanna
for
can
both?
Deanna can go for both.
All right, we have a second on that motion?
Dennis did.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Peeper, Trustee Myers,
Aye.
Trustee Baum, Trustee Hudson, Trustee Kaminsky, Trustee Rick Miller, Trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
President Walter.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, before we go into closed session, just a reminder that the next regular village board meeting will be on Monday, February 6th at 7 PM here at the Village Hall Boardroom. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you all for watching, and have a good night. Turn your microphones off, please.
Hey, Brian, you go off. All right.